So the dust is now settled on the last crescendo, and look, I'm gonna record review of the week when I finish up here. This one will probably be about 8 9 minutes. It lived up to all expectations and then some. It was a phenomenal card. It really was. I'm going to talk about the card at more length in that, so stay tuned. That'll be out tomorrow morning at some point. But I want to talk primarily about Joseph Parker because Joseph Parker, for me, in his fight with Martin Bacoli last night, he look. I don't know. I don't. Do I blame Martin Bacoli for taking the fight on short notice? He got an awful lot of money, and that's good for him. That's nice for him. So he was well paid, if nothing else. But you know, I don't know. With regards to his decision to take the fight on no notice at all, really, have to do flights from here to there just to get to Saudi Arabia to weigh in at a career heaviest. He didn't look right in there. But Joseph Parker, let's talk about him. He looked really good. He looked sharp in there. He was weighing in at a career heaviest by quite a bit. But as I said in the live watch along I was doing, he carries the weight very, very well. Very well. And you can tell a lot of it is kind of muscle up in the shoulder region. He's really seemingly tried to put on as much muscle there, which I kind of get, to be fair, because they do say like the kind of like shoulder region, if you can get like your shoulder into it, you can get a bit more power from there. That's where a lot of people were saying that, you look at some good punters in history, they really put their shoulder into it. You got more weight on it, it might help. Might help. So yeah, I like what I'm seeing with Parker. He definitely looked really good in there. And had it been Daniel Dubois, based upon what I seen last night, again, it only went 2 rounds. He was in there against the guy who had no preparation whatsoever. He still did look quite sharp. So it would have been an interesting fight had Daniel Dubois been in the ring with him. It certainly would have. We could have really maybe seen. I don't know how Dubois would have coped because he was looking quite good in the run to it as well in training. So I think we could have been in for something really special last night had we seen it. We didn't. And now it seems unlikely we're ever going to see it. But certainly not for the immediate future. It doesn't seem likely we're going to be able to see Joe Parker versus Daniel Dubois, which is a bit of a shame because I think it would have been a good fight. Joseph Parker in the immediate aftermath called out Oleksandr Usyk. And for me personally, if ever there was a guy who deserves a world title shot, if ever there was a guy who deserved a crack at Oleksandr Usyk, even though Daniel Dubois is a champion, for me, it's got to be Joseph Parker. At the end of the day, Daniel Dubois, for one, I've already seen Dubois versus Usyk. It's not quite been 2 years yet. If they fight in the summer, it'll probably be around about 2 years to basically, as near as makes no difference, probably be near that. But I've already seen that fight once before. I think Dubois can do a little bit better, but I think it would be the same result. Whereas Joe Parker against Usyk, that I'd still make Usyk favourite, but that's an interesting one altogether because Parker it's a different style altogether. He's definitely more game. Well, I say that. I mean, Daniel Dubois, when he fought Usyk, once he didn't have things his own way and it became apparent he was losing, he capitulated very quickly. I don't think Parker would do that. I don't know if Dubois would do it now, but I don't think Parker would at any time in his career. He's a decent boxer on the back foot. He's not, he's not the best in the world, certainly not. But I think he would give Oleksandr Usyk plenty to think about and plenty he could deal with. He seems to be hitting a bit harder these days as well. So Joe Parker versus Usyk, it would be an interesting fight. I've never seen it, so I really could think, okay, anything could happen. It's heavyweight boxing. Parker is a very, very good heavyweight, top 5 heavyweight, if nothing else. So for sure, I would love to see that fight next. And for me, I actually think Parker deserves it. I think he deserves a crack at Oleksandr Usyk next. I think that it's been, nearly 7 years since he's had a world title fight. And that was a unification with AJ. He's not had a world title fight since then. And I think he's long overdue it. I think he's long overdue a crack at a title. He has now in his he's not lost a fight now since Joe Joyce. And during which time he fought Jack Massey, he fought someone in Australia, I can't remember who it was. He fought Simon McKean, he fought Wilder, he fought Zhang, and now he's fought Martin Bacoli. So he's had 6 fights since then. I think it's been 6 anyway. Jack Massey, yeah, I think it's right about that. And his last 3 fights have been Martin Bacoli. In context, yes, underprepared, very underprepared. But Zhilei Zhang, no issues. No real issues. It was, he had bad stamina, but we know that. It was not a secret about Zhilei Zhang. He didn't stop him like Kabayel did, but he still beat him nonetheless. They both touched down, both got off the deck to win, and he beat Deontay Wilder soundly. soundly on points. So he's on a good run of form. And I think Joseph Parker deserves that world title shot over Daniel Dubois. At the end of the day, Daniel Dubois, if he'd have beaten Joseph Parker, if he'd have fought him, I would have said, yeah, just go for it. Do Oleksandr Usyk versus Dubois too. Why not? I mean, at the end of the day, it's for undisputed again. But I think Daniel Dubois, and yeah, look, if he was sick, he was sick, fair enough. But the fact of the matter is, he is now going to be able to go and do whatever he wants. He can go and fight Oleksandr Usyk. He's got no mandatory obligations. We don't know what the situation is now. I'm hearing some people say that Martin Bacoli has now foregone his crack at F.A. Ajagba, a fight that I think he would have beaten him handily. And although he is saying he's fighting in America in May, so who knows what that might mean. Maybe Turkey will try and pull something because obviously he realises, look, you took it on no notice at all. Let's not just throw you under the bus. Let's do something. But nevertheless, it means he's free from a mandatory for, at the very least, I'd say about, 6 months. So he can do whatever he wants now. I would like to see him, if he doesn't fight Oleksandr Usyk, give Parker that crack, because Parker deserves it. But quite frankly, I'd quite like to see Parker go in there with Oleksandr Usyk. I think he does deserve a crack at Oleksandr Usyk. I think it's an interesting fight. It's different. Stylistically, Parker is, I would pick Usyk to win, but I could see it being a very, very tough fight for him. At the end of the day, Parker, I would have said he's more mobile than those guys, but you're saying that he looked sharp even at 267. He really did. It surprised me how sharp he looked. That could be, you could be looking at that and saying he looked sharp because he was in there again with someone who was literally probably probably barely had any sleep the day of the fight. So that take that into consideration. He looked knackered during the ring walk. Literally he looked knackered. But still, I think Parker performed very well. I think he deserves a crack at a world title, certainly now. He is Oleksandr Usyk, sort of mandatory with the WBO. They haven't called it yet, but he is interim challenger with the, or interim champion with the WBO, meaning if Usyk was to vacate, he'd be elevated to full champion. I think that at the very least he should get a shot. I really do. I like what I've seen from Parker. Him and Andy Lee. Andy Lee is really starting to come up as a very, very good trainer. I mean, I remember it was kind of out of the blue when he went to join with Andy Lee. About this time, 4 years ago, he just fought Junior Fa in New Zealand. Didn't look good in that fight. Horrible fight, actually, really. He got on a flight, came to Dublin to train with Andy Lee. Now, in fairness, he only really had, a 6-week camp before he fought Chisora the first time, so he didn't look good, but to be expected. But since then, you're seeing Parker, with the only exception being the Jack Massey fight, didn't look good in that fight. That's the only fight, and obviously Joe Joyce, but, Joe Joyce is firing on all cylinders, and Parker did give as good as he got in that fight, to be fair. It wasn't like he was just blown out of the water. The only fight I think I could look at and say of his wins he's not looked good in is the Jack Massey fight. But everything else he's looked really good. I mean, Joe Parker is in his mid-30s, well, early 30s now, and he's looking very good. He's doing very well, having a great time in his career. Some would argue that this is the peak of his career. Never mind the fact that he won the world title, almost a decade ago now. And now he's really coming into the form of his career. So yeah, give him a shot against Usyk. I would sooner see him have a world title shot because he's earned it, if nothing else, than Daniel Dubois just jump the queue. Jump the queue. I've seen it already. I think Usyk will win again. Why not? Why not fight Joseph Parker? You might bring the best out of Oleksandr Usyk because he might look at Dubois and think, yeah, I don't like you, but I've beaten you already. Why do I need to go again? Whereas someone like, again, a Joe Parker could be thinking, okay, it's a new one. He's a member of the Team Fury as well, so that might spur him on. We'd have Tyson. I mean, I'm definitely sure he would get plenty of pointers from Tyson Fury. In fact, Tyson Fury might even be not in the corner, but there with Parker the whole time, just trying to egg him on, saying, you didn't beat me. I got robbed twice against you. Don't try and rob Joseph. Something like that. So I think it could actually make for a compelling build-up as well. So it could be a great fight. But yeah, Joe Parker looking very good lately. Really, really. And you got to bear in mind as well, I just want to point this out, Joseph Parker been in the ring for a year. So he, again, for a year of inactivity, razor sharp. Really, really good stuff. If he doesn't fight, if he doesn't fight Usyk next, which is likely, I'd like to see him fight someone like an AJ, to be honest with you. Joe Joyce is shot to bits. I'd pick him to beat Joe Joyce now. Shot to bits, but, maybe. But yeah, him against AJ, I think that could still do well. I'd pick Joseph Parker to beat AJ now. I would. I think AJ is diminished. I think that we don't know who he's going to fight next or when he's going to be back, but I think whoever he fights next, he is going to look so gun shy. You will not believe it. I don't think people are realizing how gun shy he's going to be. He was knocked out brutally against Dubois. This is a guy who still really is carrying the damage of that Ruiz defeat. And that wasn't even near as damaging or as brutal as the Dubois one. So I think people are going to be shocked at how gun shy Joshua's going to be when he comes back. But I would do that fight. I'd make Joseph Parker firm favourite. Joseph Parker is a solid. Well, he's a solid top five. I'm just thinking where he is in the top five. It's got to be Usyk, Dubois, and then you could really argue with between Fury and Parker for number three, wouldn't you? And Parker's coming in off much better form than Tyson Fury. Would you have him at number three in the world? It's not out there. He's certainly top five, definitely. But you could easily say Joe Parker at this minute in time in his respective career. You could say it's Usyk, Dubois, and then Parker. I wouldn't argue with that. If you want to have Fury there, do it. But 3 or 4 is Joseph Parker. I'm okay. Maybe Caballel. Well, Caballel is in the top five, I think, as well after last night. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts. Joe Parker, very well, great performance, and I think he deserves a Usyk fight next. I really do. I really do. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe as always if you haven't already. And until next time.